Well, hello and welcome to Frame.io Live. My name is Ryan. I'm an enterprise customer success manager here at Frame.io, and today I am going to be taking you through Get to Know Frame.io version 4. This is certainly a little bit more of an introductory type session. Over the next 40 minutes or so, we are going to do a complete end to end overview of the platform. I'm going to hop into our agenda here in just a moment, but as we're getting started, I want to make sure that this is a beneficial session for you. This is completely live, so feel free to find that comment section wherever you're tuning in from. Feel free to ask any questions now or as we go along over the course of today's session. I'll do my best to get to them as quickly as we can. As a quick aside, this is a recorded session, so if you signed up today, you will receive a recording after the call. This will also be available on our YouTube page after this session. Our agenda for today, we are doing a complete end-to-end overview. So we're going to chat about Frame.io, also go into the account settings, chat about how you can actually set up your account and some of the common vernacular that we use here. We'll also chat a little bit about user roles. Those are some of the more common questions that I receive as a customer success manager. We'll also talk about workspaces and projects, moving your content, uploading content. We'll also talk about commenting and annotating. We'll chat about a couple new features, including metadata and collections, and then we'll wrap up talking about external sharing. But with that said, if you have any questions now before we get started, please let me know. We do have a rather robust knowledge base as well. I'm going to drop in the chat now a support article around getting started. This has a ton of great links just outlining commenting, uploading your media. I will also be leveraging this comment section to drop in the chat a couple of support articles as we go along. Feel free to bookmark those as well. Getting started. Maybe you're familiar with Frame, or maybe you just began a new account, or maybe you were on the previous version of Frame and you uploaded to V4, you upgraded to V4. I would like to highlight that the core functionality of our product remains the same. We are a secure review and collaboration platform. So you can upload, comment, annotate, and share assets directly within Frame.io. But with a whole bunch of new features and functionality with Frame.io version 4, you'll really be able to take your creative process to the next level. We're completely web-based, so everything that I'm going to do today is here within our web app. It's just app.frame.io. We do have an iPhone and an iPad integrated app. We also have panels coming for Premiere Pro and After Effects. The additional app that you can download is the Frame.io Transfer app, which is just an easier way to get content both in and out of Frame.io. But what you're looking at here on the left-hand side, you're going to see a list of workspaces. If you were on a previous version of the account, this was called Teams. All of those teams are converted over into workspaces. This is the highest level of organization that exists on your account. And then within each workspace is a project. So for example, you could see here under my marketing workspace, I have two projects, short edit and social media. Depending on your account type, if you're an enterprise customer, you can create as many different workspaces as you would like. I've seen these organized based on clients, based on a specific campaign that you're working on. Again, if you're an enterprise customer, you can create as many workspaces as you would like. Before we go further, I do want to discuss user roles because this can also inform how users actually interact with your content. I am an account owner, which means that I have full access across all workspaces, projects, and content. I also have the ability to adjust global settings, which we'll do in just a moment. Then there's a content admin. You can allocate as many content admins as you would like, but this user also has access across all workspaces, projects, and content, but they differ from the owner in that they can't actually make global account changes to the settings, just control the users within each project and the various access and permissions based on your workflow. And then members. Members do have general access across account information. They have the ability to collaborate within the entire workspace, so every single project or just a specific project that they're assigned to. You can allocate access, either full access, edit and share, comment only, or view only. All of those users that I just mentioned, they do occupy a license because they actually have a sign-in, they're entering your account. Anybody who's just receiving a link to review content will not occupy a seat. So before you actually add a new user, could be important to ask, does this person actually need to occupy a license? Do they need to upload content? Do I need them to actually have a sign into my account? Or are they simply just going to be reviewing content? I know I just flew through those, so I do want to add a knowledge base article around users and permissions. It goes a little bit more granular about what each of these users can do. We're going to add in a couple of users together, so I'll show you what that flow looks like. This is just setting the stage to help get you in the mindset of ways that you can actually organize and set up your account. In my experience here at Frame, there isn't one right or wrong way to actually set up an account. From what I find, everybody sets up their account a little bit different because every specific workflow is a little bit different. So we can certainly chat through those. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat as we go along as well. Before we go further into creating projects and uploading content, I do want to chat about some of the global account settings. So I'm going to go down here into the bottom left corner under this option for account and settings. Here you can see I could change the theme from light to dark. I also can go into the general settings here, which is where we are going to start. This personal section under profile, every single user has access to. I'd recommend that your users at least change their name and their photo. This is what will show when users leave comments associated with an asset. Users also have the ability to change their password here and adjust some cookie preferences. If you're an enterprise customer, we also can implement SSO or multi-factor authentication for your account. Every user also has the ability to adjust the notifications that they receive within Frame. There is an option for email notifications. We do find that there's a lot of actions that occur within Frame.io, especially when there's a review or approval process in, in flight. So, for example, this email notification frequency, you can determine how often do I actually want to receive emails notifying me of actions that have occurred within my account, ranging from every 5 minutes to daily. There's a 15-minute and an hourly option as well. That just gives you a digest and a summary, again, of all the actions that have occurred within your account. You can determine specific notifications. This is done at each user level for either comments, also for assets. So do you want to receive notifications when general comments are left, replies are made, or app mentions? You can determine if you want to receive notifications either in the app, via email, or push notification for iOS. Assets. You also can determine your uploads, status, or content that's assigned to you notifications. Again, determining if you want to receive these in-app, email, push, all three, or just your selected option. You also can adjust project notifications. So for example, maybe you don't actually need access to another project. You just need to see from an overview exactly what's occurring within that project. You can also adjust general project settings as well. The usage plan and billing tab. This usage tab just gives you an overall snapshot of everything that's occurring within your account, the number of members, storage, archival storage, projects, and workspaces. This plan and billing tab, especially important if you are on one of our retail plans. This is where you're able to input your billing or your credit card or debit card information. If you're on one of our enterprise plans, that's all billed via invoice. It looks a little bit different. These three tabs, users, workspaces, and projects, is where if you're an administrator or you're overseeing a team, is where you'll spend a good amount of time. This users tab is where you can actually invite in users. You can see that I've invited a couple of users here. They're pending. But I also have some of my existing users here. From this tab, I have the ability to filter out based on account role. I also can see which users are currently active and which are not. I also can filter based on the last active date, which could also inform if I need to remove somebody from my account or not. You can see here that I have two pending users. These are new users that I've actually invited in. I can go up here to the top right corner though, and I can always add additional users. So I can determine if I want them to be a member or a content admin. Remember that admin has the ability to add in additional users. But let's say from here, I want to invite in my colleague April. I can send her over an email inviting her into my account. So you can see here that these three users, like I mentioned, they're pending, which means that they don't actually have access to any content within my account quite yet. This is just one location where you're able to add in these users, but more of a location to be able to manage users. Workspaces. Remember, this is the highest level of organization that exists on your account. Enterprise folks can create as many as they would like. By clicking into this workspace, I can get a high-level overview of all of the members and their access, also the projects that are associated with that individual workspace. From this tab, I also can create a new workspace. Let's say we're working on a summer project. I can then create this workspace to then show up on my home screen where then I can add in projects and upload content. This projects tab, similar between the users and the workspaces tab, just gives me a general overview of the parent workspace, the status, and I would say the storage tab is especially important. A lot of folks will use this to determine if they need to remove content or the last activity date that occurred within a specific project. I also can see the users that are associated with each project. This branding tab, you can determine default shares. So, for example, I'm sharing out some content externally and I want it to have the same branding each time. This is where I'm able to adjust that global setting for the account. You can see here that I've already pre-selected some colors, the real background of the accent colors to match our Frame.io colors here of purple. But I could also adjust the header image and the logo that's associated when I share out content. This is a default that can be added. I'll show you how you can do it at the time of sharing in just a bit. And security. A lot of these settings pertain specifically to our enterprise customers, really built for scalability, especially when it comes to security. But some of these share settings, do you want to require a passphrase anytime anybody accesses a link that you've shared with them that is external to your account? This is a default setting that can be applied. You also can set a default expiration date. So, do you want content to expire after 1 week, for example? And do you want to allow folks to be able to download content that you share out with them? These are all defaults. There are some additional enterprise features, like I mentioned, including secure sharing. This just requires that a user signs into a Frame.io account in order to access the link that you've shared with them. This is just an added layer of security, meaning that the only people that can access it are the ones whose email address you've actually sent it to, as opposed to just a general public link that can be clicked on or opened at any time. There is an option for authorized domains. So you can create a domain restricted link, for example, at adobe.com. Only users with that domain can open this link. You also can require secure shares, meaning that those users will need to sign into a free Frame.io account before they can view content. And you want to make that a default. An additional enterprise feature here is watermark ID. So you can require watermark on internal assets, especially if you're working on a more black box project. There is an option to add watermark for all required shares, so any external sharing as well. You can see here that I have a template for summer 2025. I could show you how you could create a new template right here just by clicking new template. So let's say that this one has a specific project name. We can add in custom text, adjust the opacity. We could even rotate this text around if desired. I also have the ability to add in text-based name, email, IP address, date and time, and any custom text. I could then move this watermark around where I see fit. I can make the size ranging anywhere from small to huge. I can adjust the color. I can have it scroll. An additional feature here is that I can add a secondary text block. So let's say I want to have multiple watermarks all at once. I can certainly accomplish that here. Any questions about settings before we hop into the account? Please let me know. I'm going to click the home button up here in the top left corner to get back to this main homepage where now I can see my workspaces and all of my projects listed out. I have some existing projects here. There are a number of things that you can then do with these projects. Right now, I'm viewing it in thumbnail format. I also can list my projects in list format, depending on how I want to view it. I also have a filtered option up here based on either active or inactive projects. This is a feature that exists at the project level where I could take a project and let's say I'm done with it. I could mark it as inactive. I want to keep that as part of my account. It's still going to occupy storage that's associated with my account, but I don't actually want to see it anymore. We finished it 6 months ago, but maybe the client wants us to revisit it at a later date. I can make it inactive, and then I could filter out my results. So I could revisit this inactive project at a later date, or I can move it back to active, meaning that it will show up on my home screen as long as I have this as a filtered option applied. Creating a new project is as easy as just creating this new project option underneath the workspace level. When I create a new project, I can use one of our templates that exist. You can see there's a couple here for digital video production, location scouting, casting and auditions, prop inventory, dailies. There's a whole list that our team has created. By clicking on one of these options, you'll see that there's some fields and collections that are automatically applied. This pertains to metadata fields. So if you're brand new to Frame, I would encourage you to create a project using a template, including some sample content. That way you could even see a potential workflow that you can leverage depending, again, on your specific workflow. Let's go ahead and create one from scratch, though. So let's create a new project. Let's call this one Casting Photos. I know that we are going to be going through some photos together. I do have the ability to make a project restricted, so I can invite in additional users at the entire workspace level or just at the project level. Making something restricted will just require that those users are re-invited into that project before they can view that content. And of course, I can determine which workspace I want it to be a part of. So let's create a new project together. Let's go home back here again. So you can now see that this casting photos project lives within my summer workspace. When we were talking about users earlier, I do want to revisit this. Over here on the right, this is where you could add in a user at the workspace level. This will automatically give those users access to every single project within a workspace. So clicking on these users here, you can see April, Jacob, Luke, myself. We all have access to every single project within the marketing workspace. I've created this new workspace for summer project with casting photos, but nobody's in here yet. Let's say I only want an individual to have access at the casting photos project level. By opening up a project, you'll see the same icon in the top right corner. By clicking on that icon, I then can select which users I want to be a part of this individual project. Let me know if I could revisit that again. But now we have a project, we have a user who's added in, but now we have a blank space for us to upload content. You can see here that there's an option to drag files and folders to begin. I can just drag and drop content into Frame.io. I also could click upload and then select from my machine. Alternatively, I could leverage the Frame.io transfer app. That's actually this app right here, just lives down here on my desktop and my dock. And this is going to match whatever's occurring within my account. The benefit here being that I can set a watch folder so I could have content automatically upload or download out of Frame.io. I also get a full audit trail within this transfer app. It could be a little bit quicker depending on how much content you're uploading. The third option that I can leverage to upload content is by clicking on this plus button up in the very top next to the search indication, and I can upload either assets or a folder. Let's go ahead and select a folder directly from my desktop, this one for casting photos, and let's go ahead and upload all of this content. I do want to draw your attention to the left-hand screen to this uploads tab. This is going to let me know how long it's going to take to upload this content, and it will give me an audit trail of everything I've uploaded in the past. By clicking on it, it's going to take me directly to that location within my project for me to then see all of the content that I've uploaded. The folder structure will remain if you're uploading content. So if you have a folder that has multiple folders within it, that structure will remain. I uploaded a couple of PNG files here. You can upload JPEGs. You can do anything within the Adobe suite. So if you wanted to upload Adobe Illustrator content, you can. You could also do PDFs, audio files, and of course, video files. Especially for video files, the original file is always imported and saved into Frame. So you have access to the original file if you need to download it or send it to somebody else. But we do transcode and create lightweight web and mobile friendly proxy versions of your content. So you can play it back from any range of those proxies. And of course, can download that original at a later date if you need to. I'm going to click home, and I do want to spend some time within our short edits project here. We're assuming that we've already uploaded some content. We've created a couple of folders. Let's spend some time here. I do want to do a tour just so you know exactly what you're looking at and talk a little bit about the panel view, ways that you can actually view your content and also move content around. So here you'll get a full list of your assets. So you can see all of the folders that exist within your account, including anything that's recently deleted. You have 30 days to recover those if needed. This option for collections. Collections kind of function like smart folders. So you can leverage metadata and collections to go hand in hand, where you can create a collection based on metadata tags. I'll get to this in just a bit. And then shares. Any content that I've shared out externally will show here, And I can see a full list of all of the shares that I've sent out. So all of the share links will show here. This very last tab down in the bottom on the left is for C2C connections. This stands for camera to cloud connections. I'm actually able to sync up hardware with Frame.io, meaning that the second I call cut, content will automatically drop into my Frame.io account to do immediate review and collaboration. There's a tab up here for appearance where I can adjust how I view my content at the project level. Do I want to see content in either a thumbnail or list format? I can adjust this. I also can adjust the card size ranging from small, medium to large, depending on your preference. I also can adjust the aspect ratio. So if I have content for socials or I want to see how it will show on mobile, for example, I can adjust the title, the card info, and the thumbnail scale to either fit or fill that screen. Flattening folders will open up every single folder and asset associated with my account. This tab up here for fields pertains to metadata and collections. I'll get to that in a bit. There's 32 out of the box metadata fields that you can leverage. You can see that there's a couple that are applied to these assets here. And then sort. I can custom sort based on name, date, uploaded status, really any of these metadata tags. Over here on the right, I can also search for edits. And I want to draw your attention to the top right corner where we have a panel view. So this panel here that we reviewed that has the assets, collections, and shares, we can hide that from our homepage just by clicking on this panel. Additionally, if I wanted to see both the content associated with my project and the asset a little bit larger, I can do so. So this is the secondary panel up here in this top right corner that I've broken out. But I can also take it a step deeper where if I wanted to view all of the assets in my project, the asset a little bit larger, plus any comments associated. I don't have to click into each asset in order to actually see that there's comments associated. You can see here on this asset, there's a little 3 icon here with a speech bubble. That just means that there's actually 3 comments that are associated with this asset. A quick way for me to just get an overview of everything that I'm seeing. I can view all 3 of these panels at once or can break it out depending on, again, my personal preference. Additionally, by creating this plus button, I can add a new folder. So you see here I have an untitled folder, but I could create a new folder to add content. I can also select content here and I can get a full view of what exactly I want to do with an individual asset. Do I want to download it in that original version or the proxy version? I can copy the asset URL, which will take an individual to this direct location within the project. They will need to sign in. I could copy it or move it. I could also duplicate an asset or I could rename it. Any questions about moving content, organizing content, please let me know. Let's open up this footage asset here. You can see that I can also scrub and get kind of a high level overview of the assets that I'm viewing just by moving my mouse over these assets. One of my favorite features that exists when it comes to organizing content is what we call version stacking. So you can see here I have these 2 assets. They're very similar. I want to keep them together. Maybe we want to use this one for one cut, this one for another. I can just drag and drop an asset and move it over top of the next, and it's going to keep these 2 assets together in a version stack. I know that we're all guilty of having a very long email thread where everyone's wondering which one's actually the final edit. This is a great way to keep all of those finals together. So by opening up this asset, it's going to open up my player page where I already have a couple of comments associated. But up here in the top, in the middle, is where then I'm able to determine which version I want to view, or if I want to compare 2 versions side by side. So you can see here that now I'm actively playing these 2 in the same time frame. There's a purple line here that I can A/B test audio between the 2. So let's say there's a different voiceover, maybe a different song. I also can keep these together. You can add more than one version stack if you would like. So you can continue to add additional assets to this stack. Let's say I add a couple additional version stacks and I compare this. I then can select up here which version I want to view. Really wonderful feature. I highly recommend that you create version stacks. You can also share them out so stakeholders can then see a full list of all of the stacks and all the comments associated. Speaking of player page, let's chat a little bit about some of this annotation and commenting that you could actually do within Frame.io. You can see here that I have my asset, but down in the bottom, I have the option to just play pause. I can loop it. I can adjust the playback speed or the audio. I also can adjust how I want to view the time codes here. Do I want to see it in frames or standard? Down here in the bottom is where under these settings, I can adjust the quality. Here's these proxy versions that I was mentioning. I also can add in a guide. So if I want to see how content will show in social media, for example, I can apply that here. I also can download a still or set a still as the thumbnail. This comment section here on the right, I'll explain as we go a little bit deeper, but there's more than just a static comment that can be left. You can, of course, leave just a single comment, so it's associated at one point in the timeline, but you also can leave range-based comments. You can mention an individual so they get notified. You also can leave an annotation in the form of a hashtag, or you can draw all over this display here. You also can leave an anchored comment, especially seeing this used with PDF, so I'll showcase that in a moment. And you also can upload a file to a comment. Let's go through a review and approval process together, and I can showcase what some of these comments and annotations can mean for you and your teams. This shot here is part of an energy drink campaign called Drip. If you saw in my previous project, there were a whole bunch of assets. There were some energy drink graphics. We're creating maybe a sizzle reel, for example. And I know that this shot is a slow-mo shot of our actress running here. We want to use this as part of a social media campaign. We know that we don't actually want to use this entire shot. Playing this one through, I really like this shot. I really like the lens flare. I think the color looks really nice. However, we don't really get any lens flare or anything until we get to like this point up here in the asset. So I really like how it starts here. So I think we could cut out this entire first half. Let's start out by leaving a range-based comment. So I'm going to hit the I keyboard and the O. This is the range that I actually want to be able to leave my comment at. You could see that by using some of those keyboard shortcuts, it's going to leave this yellow box, meaning that this is the portion that I'm referring to. I'm going to say, can we please edit this out? I like the shots where there is lens flare. Okay. You can also see down here in the bottom, I have the option to select if I want a comment to be either public or internal. If it's internal, it means that only users that have a login and are associated with this account see them, even if you share it out externally. By clicking send, it's going to leave a comment here on the right-hand side. It's also going to leave my icon and my name associated with this comment. By clicking on a comment, it's going to take me directly to that location in the timeline. Let's keep going. All right. I know I mentioned this shot. I like it a lot, but I do think that the left-hand side of the screen just gets a bit washed out here. I do wish that we could actually see the sun a little bit more. Maybe the sky was a little bit more blue. So let's go over here to our comment section and let's leave an mention. Let's say my colleague Luke is going to be our colorist on this one, working on some edits. I'm typing, can we make this a bit more blue? What is this that I'm referring to? That is the sky. So I am going to also leave an annotation. Oops, excuse me. To full screen here. I do want to also leave an annotation right here. So I'm going to click on this icon that looks like a paintbrush, and I'm going to leave an arrow. Let's make it green so it stands out against our background a little bit. I'm indicating to Luke what we want to make a little bit more blue, and that is this portion here. If you can notice, there's a line, a box, or draw freehand. Let's say I also want to draw a box around it. I can also indicate that this is the part of the sky that we want to make more blue. By clicking on this comment again, it's going to reveal any annotations that I had just left. If you look down here, you could also see that I do have the option to make this range-based again if I see fit. It does seem like the sky is kind of washed out in this entire thing. Let's say I want to make another comment for Luke. I can mention Luke again, who's our colorist, and I can do the hashtag colorist. And I'm informing Luke, can we please make the sky more blue in this entire edit? Okay. Additional comment types that I want to draw your attention to, an anchored comment. I've especially seen this used for PDFs, but down here in the bottom, there is this option where you can grab an anchor and you could drop a pin to a specific location directly within this edit. So let's say I want to drop a pin here and these lights are off, but I want them on. This is where I'm indicating maybe for this particular section. And maybe there is some type of PDF that I want to attach for the look that I want to get for this. I can attach that. Of course, I can add an emoji too if I want. Cool. The anchored comment again, it's just a pin that's directly dropped to a specific location on your timeline. And the last type of comment that I could leave here is just an annotation itself. So let's say I want to grab a PDF from my desktop. We know that there's actually going to be a voiceover during this portion, so we have a script for that. I can also attach my script here that individuals can then access at a later date. They could download it, etc. Any questions about all of these different types of comments that we could leave? Please let me know. But now that we've left a couple of comments, I would like to highlight that this comment section can now function a little bit like a checklist for your team. So you can filter out the comments, either public or internal only. I also can filter out based on the type of comment, if they're unread, if it's completed, the person that it's assigned to, or a hashtag. I also can search for comments. Remember, I left that hashtag for colorist. That's now a keyword that I could search for at a later date. Directly associated with the comment. This one, for example, could we please edit this out? I like this shot with the lens flare. I can reply directly to it. So let's say somebody else had left me that comment and I want to reply back to it. I can say I already did this. Say I already did this and the new version is uploaded. So I could click it and then I can also leverage this mark as complete option using this again, like a checklist. Your team can also simply just react. So if you just wanted to have an emoji, a thumbs up, I acknowledge I see this. This field section also pertains to all the metadata fields that are applied. Up here on the top right, under these three dots, you also can copy comments and paste them onto a different asset. You also can export your comments for Resolve, for Premiere, Media Encoder. I also have the ability to print comments. This will open up a separate tab with a PDF that will give me a full audit trail of everything that had been left or comments that had been left with the time codes associated with them, especially if you need to share this with a producer or director, whatever part of the process you're in. Cool. Any questions about commenting and annotating, please let me know. Let's chat a little bit now about the metadata and collections component. So underneath this field section is where I can apply metadata tags to my assets, not only to search for them at a later date, but also to ease in the review and collaboration process, especially if I am looking to tag assets to a specific person, specific rating system, etc. So the fields that I've clicked on, video status, release platform, release date, final edit, rating. Whatever's clicked on, it will show directly beneath that individual asset. That goes for every single asset that's associated with my specific project. So like these logos, for example, they will all have this same metadata fields that are applied because it's part of this same project. I can create a new metadata field. So like I mentioned, there's 32 out of the box, but this option here says 36 because I've already created a couple of new ones. So creating a new field is easy. I could just click this create new field option, and then I have the option to have a single select, multi-select, date, rating, a single person, multiple people, toggle, number, single line text, or long text. So let's say I want to have a single select option as a new field. Let's call this one legal approval because we know that there's a couple of logos that are associated. We just want to run this by our legal counsel before we actually deploy anything. Let's add our options as yes, no, and adjust the color for them. By creating that metadata field, you now can see that this field is going to appear at the bottom of these assets. And I have the option to select yes or no. Not only then could I search for this at a later date where I could search for legal approval is, and I can search for any asset that has that metadata field that's automatically adjusted. But I also can leverage this collections section. So let's say we're starting from scratch. And I want to create a brand new collection. I can click this plus button here, and then I can give it a logo and a header in case I want to share this out at a later date. Let's put a briefcase here for legal approval. I'm adding a description in as well. For anybody out there that's watching, if you have a specific use case, please let me know. I could also generate a collection or create a metadata field based on your use case just to showcase in real time what that could look like for you. You can see here that I was getting a prompt. Start here. Where exactly do I want to grab assets from? Is it only a specific folder or do I want it from my entire account? Let's grab assets from my entire account. I can adjust the appearance just like I did at the project level. But this filtered option is then where I can set the filters for a specific collection. Legal approval is yes, is the filter that I'm going to add here. You can see here that there's two assets that are added because across my entire account, there's only two assets where the metadata field legal approval is yes is clicked on. Let's go back here over to our account. And let's say we're looking at a couple of these graphics. We know that these are our own graphics, so they're automatically approved. You can see here that I just added yes to these three assets. If I go back over here into my collection, you're going to see that these three assets are now going to show because they match that filtered result. I can take it a step deeper and I can add additional filters. So let's say we want to use the metadata tag legal approval is yes, and the second metadata tag is the rating is 5 stars. You can see here that now it's only going to reveal content that matches. This grouping option can also help you group assets based on specific tags. For example, if I go here to my final assets collection, my filter is final asset is checked and it's grouped based on release platform. So this one's for Instagram, this one's for TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and X. I know that I added in a little logo here in the descriptor, but I also could add in my own custom header. So I can adjust the size of the header to be small, medium, or large. I also can determine, do I want it to even have any of this content? Let's go ahead and add in a background image though. This one looks nice. I've now created a collection that has a little bit of my own custom branding associated. Now I could potentially share this out externally. Yeah. These metadata fields, I know I just gave two pretty basic or simple examples, but you really can do a lot with these. I've seen collections that are created for specific individual, maybe even a group of stakeholders that you know are going to be reviewing assets every time. You can add in, again, those multiple filtered views, especially if you're going through a large amount of photos. Maybe you add a 5-star rating to one, you add a 4-star rating to another. You want to see everything that has 4 or 5 stars as you're going through your entire collection. You can do that. External sharing. This component will enable a user or a reviewer, as we call them, to be able to just view only the content that you've shared with them. There's a couple of different ways that you could share out externally. So let's say I just want somebody to view one asset specifically. I could create a share link based on just one specific asset and share it out. So for any of you here who are here on the call today, let's say that you are my stakeholders. I'm going to create a share link here. This one's our drip add final. It's going to show here underneath my shares. Similar to what I just did for the collection, I do have the ability to edit this entire header. I'm adding in the descriptor final shot. What do you think? Let's add in another header as well. We can make it medium this time. This one matches some of our Frame.io colors pretty well. Please give feedback. I can then adjust the appearance, either light or dark. Over here on the right-hand side is then where I can adjust exactly how I want these users to interact with this share link that I've just sent. Do I want it to be public or secure only? Remember that secure share setting, that one is for our enterprise folks that need a user to sign in. I also can adjust the layout. Do I want it in grid format, which is thumbnail format, in list format, or in reel, which means that it will autoplay? Let's use this option because it's just one simple final edit. And let's change this back to, actually, let's make it a custom view. Remember, I added in those custom colors earlier. We can have the aspect ratio be whatever we want and have the thumbnail fit or fill. Over here on the right-hand side, I then can apply some additional security settings. I know we went through some of these at the beginning for defaults, but I can adjust it at the individual level as well. Do I want to add a passphrase or link expiration date? Do I want to add watermark ID? Also, do I want to enable users to comment, download, or see all versions? Remember that version stack we made? I can determine, do I just want them to see the most recent edit? I'm going to shut off comments and downloads for this option. And if you could see here for fields, there is a one feature field that I can allow users to be able to edit. Let's see if we want to edit this one, maybe for status. Yeah, copy link. I'm going to copy and paste this link into the chat so that way you all can view it and see it. Feel free to open up this review link if you would like. I'm going to open it up here on a separate page, but this is exactly how it shows. You can see here that I have my watermark that's applied. I do not have the option to download or leave comments because remember earlier I disallowed that, right? Or alternatively, if I wanted to turn these features on, I could go back over here to this asset. I could click refresh, and now you could see that all comments are going to show and be associated. Underneath this shares option, again, I can see a full list of all of the shares that I've sent out. This option here that I just sent with you, final option, what do you think? It doesn't look like anybody's opened it yet. I can see the number of views that are associated. I can also see what type of link and the date that it was created. I can multi-select these review links and I can also delete or enable them. So I can do some multi-bulk actions associated with my account. Additionally, I can create a share by clicking this plus button here, and I could create a share just based on nothing. So if I just wanted this one, it just says today's date. I can drag and drop content into this share link. So here's an additional way to be able to generate this link. Decreate Vision, welcome back. Nice to see you again. I can create a share link based on nothing, or I could add additional content to it. And the last way that I can share is I can actually share out an entire collection. So remember, we created this collection of legal approved shots. Let's say I want to share it out. Here we go. I just created a share link based on that. I've also seen this link in this particular example. Maybe there's some internal review. You could add it into a project management software, or some type of spreadsheet, or anywhere where you collaborate with your team. We've covered a lot of ground today. We went through the entire settings of the account. We also chatted about workspaces and projects, user roles, uploading content, commenting and annotating metadata and collections, and external sharing. However, if you need some additional help, we do have a support team that's available 24/7. So by clicking on this little question mark here, on the right-hand side, you're going to see these are actually some live folks that are chatting right now. You can see the system status. There's also a whole bunch of links that are available here, but of course, you can chat directly with our team. I do want to direct you down here to the bottom left-hand corner. Again, there is an option for you to submit a feature request. So if there's something that you would like to see in Frame, let us know. There's also an option to see keyboard shortcuts, so you can get just a general overview of some of the keyboard shortcuts to save a little bit of time. I used a couple today, especially the I and the O keyboard when I was creating a range-based comment. I haven't seen any questions come through this afternoon, so this is where I will leave you for today. However, I will be right back here again next week leading this session. I hope this was helpful for you and your teams. If you're watching this live, thank you for joining me. If you're watching this pre-recorded, thank you as well. And on behalf of our entire team, thanks for letting us be a part of your creative process. Again, my name is Ryan from Frame.io. This was Get to Know Frame.io version 4. Thank you for your time today, wherever you're tuning in from. Until next time.